The war may be cold, but things are just heating up for Indiana Jones when a missing professor, a mysterious skull, and a mess of monkeys sends him in a search for the lost city of gold.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Our Rating, the show where I get together with two of my buddies. We take a movie franchise, break it down by a movie, give them an overall score, and then throw them back on the board to see where they land compared to the other movie franchises. If you're watching this on Twitch, please consider hitting the follow button. If you're over on YouTube, hit subscribe. And if you're listening to this, please consider leaving a 5-star rating. It does help out quite a bit. I'm joined this week, as always, with Brian and Will. Brian, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty good, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How about you, Will?
I'm doing pretty good as well, very well.
Excellent. Very well.
Very well. We're good.
Excellent. Now, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. This is 2008. It's one of the newer Indiana Jones movies, 20 years after Last Crusade, we all thought, put a bow on the franchise. Is this your first time watching this one, Will, or have you seen this one before?
This is my first time watching. I saw trailers for it back in the day and was like intrigued, but overall, I'm a big guy. I don't really love watching trailers nowadays because they give away the movie, I think, a lot of times. But back in the day when I did watch trailers, I was always like, yeah, that's not going to be good. I'm not going to watch that because of my shit dar, if you can call it that, is strong. And I know what I like and what I don't like. And this one didn't pass that radar test. And so I never watched it until a couple of days ago.
It's funny you mentioned that. I'm watching trailers now that I wouldn't normally watch for the channel to do like trailer reaction stuff like that. Like Spider-Man Brand New Day just came with its second trailer yesterday, and I watched that to do a reaction to it. But in the back of my brain, I'm like, I already bought a ticket. Like, I'm not watching this. Like, I'm already sold on the film. I don't need to see a trailer. So I get what you're saying. What about you, Brian? Is this your first time watching this one?
No, this will be my second time watching it. I caught it when it first came out because, there was a big gap between 3 and 4. And I wanted to see how well this worked. And so I saw it early when it first came out. I don't know if I saw it in theaters or if I just saw it like immediately after it came out of theaters. I might have saw this in theaters. I don't know, 2008. And then, of course, I watched it the other day. I wasn't at the watch party, but I watched it the other day and for the second time. So nice. I kind of have a question for you guys.
Go for it.
There's a term that this movie coined.
Yep.
Called nuking the fridge, much like jumping the shark. It's when you go too far and do something too stupid. They call it nuking the fridge. Harrison Ford climbs into a refrigerator, nuclear bomb blasts him across half of Nevada and rolls to a stop, and he climbs out without even a bruise, whatever. What do you think is more realistic? Climbing into a lead-lined refrigerator and surviving a nuclear blast, or a knight guarding the Holy Grail for 700 years? Honestly, it's easier for me to believe the knight.
So I'm going to change that on you because the knight is like protected by God or whatever you want to call it. So like that's divine intervention. That's a different thing. I thought you were going to go with jumping out of a plane with a raft onto a mountain because those seem more like just dumb luck.
Those are two more likely. Okay. But I just... The nuke the fridge scene, when I first saw this the first time, just absolutely stopped me in my tracks, and I was like, oh, forget this. I can't do this. And I finished the movie, but it put me in a really bad mood because right off the bat, I was like, that's just ridiculous. For some reason, watching number 2 and seeing them fall out of the airplane and using the raft didn't bother me, maybe because I was much younger. Number 3, the Holy Grail situation had an explanation, though it wasn't realistic, but it still fit the theme of the movie and it worked. Him climbing into that refrigerator, I just don't understand why they went there. Like, what was the reasoning for adding that scene in? It didn't do anything, and you could have progressed the film in any other way forward if you wanted to.
So Indiana Jones movies, I mean, for one, let's just get right off the bat, none of them are realistic. None of them have a shred of realism. They're all very, very silly. Part of that is what I like about them, but you're right. There are points where they go too far, and I just go, oh, okay. Like, if you have the Ark opening up and it kills all the Nazis. Totally fine with that. That's God's will.
Yeah,
if you
sure.
have how about whatever the voodoo god is, or the Indian god in the second movie, I'm blanking on his name at the moment, where he rips the heart out and the guy stays alive. That's another form of like a deity
mysticism or something. Yeah,
yeah. Even the aliens in this one, spoilers. Okay, sure, like it is what it is. But when you have something that's supposed to be like a real world scenario, where it's like real world Indy is getting nuked by a real world nuclear bomb, like somebody said in the chat, like I'd almost believe it more if the fridge didn't move. Like, okay, it's lined by lead, sure, maybe he survived somehow. The heat didn't get to him, whatever. But then he's getting out and he's like in the middle of a fallout. Like now he's dead for a different reason. So you kind of have to have him get launched. Yeah. But also like, yeah, there's no way he survives that. And like he survives a lot in this movie with no explanation other than just like
the guys driving away from the blast, their car gets like annihilated.
Right.
And he's closer to the blast than they were, and he flies over them.
Oh yeah.
I just didn't like that scene like most people. That scene bothered me. And that's a big issue for a lot of people that watch this movie.
And they've been driving as fast as they can from before he got into the fridge, and he clears them. So that's how far he's flying.
And lands without a parachute, rolls to a stop and climbs out, and he's just like a little dizzy. It was just,
he gets out, just looks at the explosion, just like, wow, that's a nuke.
For me, the most unrealistic part is this fridge comes rolling to a stop. He rolls out of the fridge, and then it pans to this groundhog who then just gets scared of him standing up, not this fridge blasting towards it at 100 miles an hour.
Or the nuke.
Or the nuke, or anything.
Well, we kind of go through a bunch in the movie,
afterwards. Right? Oh my, well, the first half hour or whatever.
Yeah, they just kind of added those for some goofy stuff, but
oh my goodness, that was the first thing that took me out of the movie. They opened with these groundhogs or gophers. I'm like, what is happening? This doesn't have any place in this movie or any movie whatsoever. But to answer your question, Brian, why is the fridge in the movie? I have somewhat of an answer. Spielberg was an executive producer on Back to the Future. And in one of the drafts of Back to the Future, Marty couldn't get back in time without being blown through the air by a nuclear bomb in a lead-lined fridge. Mm-hmm. He needed the power of that to get the speed to push him through time. And Spielberg always liked the idea of somebody surviving that scenario. And so he found a place to put it in the 50s, in the time of testing nukes in Indiana Jones. And that's why it's in the movie.
So Spielberg failed twice for me then. Once by adding the refrigerator into this ridiculous movie, and the second for not putting his foot down to freaking aliens. He didn't want it. He should have put his foot down. I don't look, because we have... The voodoo's a little off course in 2, but it's still kind of mystical or whatever, sort of religious maybe, kind of fits the theme. But then we take a hard left to aliens in this one. Did not like that. What do you guys think of aliens?
I actually didn't hate the alien aspect at all. Was it done well? No, not so much. But the chances of aliens being among us or in the universe is almost infinitely more possible than the existence of higher powers. So to me, this is actually more believable. Or it's just a matter of how they execute it. And I believe they executed the others much more tastefully. And this one, they went into a CGI hellscape. And that's just what we got left with.
The opinions of Clooney Agent are not necessarily the opinions of the Monguli show, and so just for fun and fun. Just
Dan,
cover all our bases.
What do you think of aliens in this?
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't necessarily mind the alien angle. It was fun, but it didn't fit the franchise. The franchise has been mystical up until this point. And for them to pivot hard like that into sci-fi, it just felt weird. And I didn't like that change. And you're right, Cleaning Agent. They did not pull off a lot of things right in this movie. So maybe that's just it. It's just too many rough edges in here. But Dan, do you like the aliens?
I'm going to agree with Will to an extent where I think... How do I word this? Aliens are not completely out of left field when you have people talking about the history of the planet. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that I actually think the pyramids are built by aliens, but there are a lot of people who do think that. In the same way, there are a lot of people who think that voodoo is real. There's a lot of people who believe in, Christianity and stuff like that, or Norse mythology, or any of the mythologies. Like, there's a lot of theories about history who go going back through the generations. Aliens creating Mayan temples or giving star charts or creating the pyramids is not completely out of left field. Like, it's not like Spielberg made that up, right? Like,
yeah.
Crystal skulls and aliens and all that stuff visiting our world is something we have seen, or not seen, sorry, something we've heard of in mythology before. So it's not so ridiculous to me. No more ridiculous than, the voodoo stuff or the Ark of the Covenant and whatnot. Again, though, I will just, before you take over, I completely agree with both of you, though. Like, the CGI in this movie, or the whatever in this movie, is just painful. It's by far my least favorite thing about this movie, because we praised the first, two of the first three for how good they look and how much they hold up over time because they're practical effects. And there's so much in this movie that's not even like the aliens, because obviously you can't do great looking aliens even in practical, but like, they'll be standing in front of a sunset and it looks like they're just standing in front of a green screen. And you're just like, what are you doing? Like, how did you forget how to make films?
A whole movie is just oversaturated, or it's just got like an Instagram filter on it. It just takes the whole movie out of the Indiana Jones feel, the look, the grittiness, even their costumes. At the end of the movie, he's gone through, all of these temples. He's gotten blown up. He's gotten all these things. And he's sitting there at the end of the movie, and his clothes are perfectly brand new and clean. And it's not Indiana Jones. It's not the gritty, real, practical Indiana Jones that we're used to seeing and loving. And that really took me out from the get on this movie as well. Everything was just bright and shiny almost. It was just ugly.
Yeah, it's like they had the color turned up too much. It just oversaturated the color in the film. It didn't feel right. It has a distinct, different look to it than its predecessors. Didn't like that at all either.
Well, and not only the look of the film itself, but even the characters. Like, Cate Blanchett's character was such a cartoon compared to every other villain we've had up until this point. Like, she really stood out, and not in a good way for me.
Yeah. The Nazis in this movie were crazy. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. They were Russians. Yeah, Russian. No, that was so... honest to God, I was like, these are Nazis wearing Russian uniforms. Why don't we just go with that plot line? Because you guys couldn't get the Nazi out of the script. Maybe you wanted these Russians to feel like Nazis, so we feel more comfortable with what we're used to or something. But they just didn't. They didn't feel very Russian to me. I didn't like that at all. So they bothered me. And the look and appearance of almost every character in this movie felt like a caricature of itself.
Yeah. I think Cate Blanchett, my apologies, was just miscast, was just the wrong character for this role, the wrong look, the wrong sound. Like, she just did nothing for me in this movie. I didn't mind, you know what? I'm gonna go out there and say it. I didn't mind Shia LaBeouf in this movie. I didn't mind.
You know what? I didn't either,
Karen
actually.
Back. Like, for all the crap we give Shia LaBeouf, and he deserves some of it, don't get me wrong.
A lot, yeah.
I think he's actually a pretty talented actor, although he's kind of a batshit crazy human being.
100%.
Yeah.
My issue is... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, maybe, Will, you can help me out with this, but it was my understanding that initially they were thinking about having Shia LaBeouf take over the role of Indiana Jones. And after this movie came out, Shia LaBeouf said some things about the film that turned a lot of people off and upset a lot of people. And they quietly just said, nope, we're not going to go that way after all, which is kind of a shame, because after rewatching this the second time, I did feel that Shia LaBeouf was actually one of the better characters in the film.
I actually liked him quite a bit, and I did. Now that being said, I don't necessarily want him to take over as Indiana Jones. I don't know. I've never seen Dial of Destiny. We'll see where that goes. I'd be okay with them just like no more Indiana Jones once Harrison Ford is done doing it. But I did like that beat at the end. It was very ham-fisted, where like the doors open and the hat blows in, and like Shia LaBeouf picks it up and he's about to put it on, and then Harrison Ford just grabs it from him and puts it back on. Like, no, you're not Indiana Jones. I'm going to be Indiana Jones forever. I like that they didn't let him put it on and like stare off into the sunset. Like, we're going to get something that we never end up getting.
Yeah.
They hint at it and they're like, nope, mine. That worked for me.
I agree. That was one of the better jokes or plays in this movie. But to speak on Shia LaBeouf, I didn't actually go into looking into why, but as far as I heard, he definitely talked crap about the movie when it was being released, instead of being a good, publicly upping the movie and trying to get people out to see it. He kind of bashed the movie a little bit. And he and Spielberg had worked on many projects before, which is probably why he was in this as well. And so that pretty much just cut their ties. And him and Harrison Ford were just like, no more of this guy. This guy's unprofessional and we don't work with him anymore. So I'm guessing, I don't know, I haven't seen Dial of Destiny either. I'm guessing he's not in it for that reason alone, if not others, because he went cuckoo after.
I wouldn't be terribly surprised if he's in, because my understanding, spoilers, is that we're going to get into time travel in the next one. I wouldn't be surprised if his character in some capacity makes a cut, because he is Harrison Ford or Indiana Jones' son. So like maybe he'll be in like a swirling whirlwind of emotions kind of a scene, but I don't imagine he's going to be like a character with a line. Like if you ever saw the Flash movie, how they have all those different Flash variations at the end, I could see something like that where we get a brief glimpse of Mutt or Shia LaBeouf. I'm not expecting more.
Where they just use some of the footage that was cut from this film to go into the next one. Yeah, something like that.
Or maybe they'll just have a photo like they have of Henry Sr. Because Sean Connery.
Remember when these movies were good?
Yeah, Sean Connery didn't want to come back for this movie. Sean Connery had retired and said he didn't want to come out of retirement for this. He said, I think the role itself wasn't big enough for him to want to come out of retirement. He was enjoying retirement too much. And I don't know what version of the script he got. Apparently this script had been kind of going through different writers for like years before it actually went to production. And I think I can see a lot of different versions of the script in this movie and why it's kind of a big cluster mess of different plots and character arcs and characters. Overall, I just felt that this movie is very busy compared to the other Indiana Jones movies, and it did not do it any favors.
This is definitely the most busy of the four that we've seen so far. However, rewatching Last Crusade recently and with a more critical eye, it does. I don't know if busy is quite the right word, but it keeps the pace going quickly. Like you're just jumping from thing to thing to thing to thing. Like things are always happening. Now in this one, there's a lot more jumping. There's a lot more happening, but it's on par. Like it's
sure
natural evolution.
I think one of the larger problems with that is this one again. Spielberg's good about one thing. If anything, it's action and keeping the pace of action movies. And in this one, he does keep the pace up pretty well as well. But comparing it to The Last Crusade and this, Last Crusade, we had a lot of established characters already, and only a couple of them kind of joining Indy in the end. Whereas this one, we're getting a lot of new characters along the way, most of which are so one-dimensional that you don't care about them at all, but they're along the way for the majority of the movie. And so you're trying to like figure out their intentions, even though they don't really have any, AKA Mac, the triple agent who nobody cares about whatsoever and should have died in the first scene.
He's a single agent. He lied about being a double agent.
He's an idiot. Like,
Yes.
it doesn't make any sense. His whole character, why he's there, is just
It's a good
completely
thing he
useless.
just always carries multiple tracking devices on him so that he can drop them off for the Russians to find.
Good Lord, yeah.
Yeah, it kind of felt like his character existed as a plot device to move them and make things happen, because his character didn't really serve any other purpose other than getting them into or out of certain situations where they needed the enemy to find them. That was kind of it.
Yeah, he was there so the Russians could keep up, because otherwise there's no way the Russians would have known to go into the tearing eye waterfall thing.
He also shows you that greed is bad.
No, I'm pretty sure I heard somewhere that greed is good.
No, he was greedy, and he didn't make it at the end because he was greedy.
I don't know. Gordon Gekko
Yeah,
wouldn't
Gordon
lie to me, I don't
Gekko.
think.
Yeah, he said greed is good. However, the 700-year-old Templar said, greed's probably not the best thing because you're drinking out of a shiny cup right there.
Yeah.
So I don't
Well,
know.
they chose poorly.
Yeah, they did.
Right.
Oh,
So
man.
this movie has a bunch of writers. It looks like they brought in some people, or never mind. They've just got repeat names for different things here. Okay. But the writing felt different to me in this one. It felt like they were trying really hard to make an Indiana Jones movie by people who didn't know how to make an Indiana Jones movie. That's kind of how I felt.
Okay. Well, I want to touch on two things. One, I'll go back a little bit. I'm surprised to find out that Steven Spielberg didn't want aliens in this movie, because while I was watching it, it felt like they were forcing them in. And knowing his history, like he just came out with Disclosure Day to like last week.
Yeah.
Started with Close Encounters of the Third Kind, E.T.,
yeah.
War of the Worlds. He is big on aliens. So I'm surprised he didn't want to bring aliens into this. So I'm a little bit. That threw me off, and we mentioned that a little while ago. I just want to throw that out there.
No worries.
As far as this not feeling like an Indiana Jones movie, I feel like this feels more like an Indiana Jones movie than Temple of Doom does.
It follows Raiders of the Lost Ark very closely in plot, like arcs. Sure.
Well,
yes.
Yeah. I'm not saying. I'm not. Yeah. Go ahead.
But Indiana Jones is the only thing that really feels like Indiana Jones in this movie, aside from the way the story unfolds.
They even brought Miriam back, and she doesn't feel like Miriam.
Agreed.
In fact,
I'll give you that.
They went from he's your son and we're fighting, and then he kicks a guy and he unties her, and they're like, "Oh, you like me?" He's like, what is he? He said a line like, "I couldn't find anybody as good as you," or something, right?
Yeah,
and then suddenly they're like, "Let's get married."
You must have been with a lot of women since us. And he's like, "Yeah, there was a few, but there was one problem." She's like, "What?" "None of them were you."
Yeah, it was a cheesy line. And then instantly her panties drop. It was dumb. I didn't really like that. And then she wasn't playing the same character. She just wasn't the same person as she was in the first one.
I'm not going to disagree with you, because in Raiders of the Lost Ark, they always show us that she knows what she's doing. And in this scene, you could like maybe rewrite the script where she knows what she's doing, but like there's a world where she's smart enough to know that if her and Indy creates a fight, they can distract the guard and then they can do something.
Yeah.
But don't wink at the camera, not literally, to tell us that she's in on it. They just kind of make her this nagging character, and then Indiana Jones saves the day. Whereas Raiders did a really good job of always showing that she's trying to outsmart the person that she's being captured by.
Yeah,
they might genuinely be fighting because they might genuinely be fighting because their chemistry is so good in the first one, but she's also in on what they're overall doing. So she's multitasking, really. She's nagging at him and helping them get free. And in this one, it just felt like she was nagging at him and he gets them free. It just didn't feel the same. And that's kind of how almost every sequence in this movie was for me. It just didn't feel right. It didn't feel like they got it right. Every single scene for me was that way.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't know if it's everything. I think as sad as it is with the groundhogs and all, I think the warehouse scene is probably the most Indiana Jones scene of this movie. And maybe the close second is the motorcycle chase scene. Those two were kind of the standouts for me. Because one, it's Indiana Jones kind of in his element in this warehouse, outrunning the Soviets and, giving them what for, outsmarting them. And then in the motorcycle scene, it was kind of the classic Indy chase on vehicles, which wasn't too bad for old man Indy to take on.
I will say one of the things we haven't really touched on, it's been in all 4 of the movies, and it wouldn't work in most movies. It would be really cheesy and stupid in most movies, but I just love it in this one. I love how over accentuated the sound is every time Indiana Jones punches anything. Just get that real like pop of like kabam, like he's really knocking somebody.
Than put the word on the screen when he does it, you know.
Like it's essentially like the old Batman or a live action show with Adam West, but it's like I don't know. For some reason in this franchise, it works for me. But if you put that in like Rambo or anything else, be like, what is happening? This sounds awful.
Yeah, I used to hate fake punching sounds and everything, but it fits in this film, and it always has been there. And so I do like how also how they play it up. So that's pretty good. Unfortunately, they also get a lot of CGI effects during these action sequences, which was just terrible. Probably the worst one was when they're driving through the forest. They're having sword fights on the cars. They're going off the cliffs. They're going over waterfalls in the boat car. There's a tree that's flinging people around. Fun ideas, but they took the easy route and made it completely unbelievable by making it all CG in ways that just didn't work. Had they done some of that stuff as a practical effect and shown that you could do this in reality and see the look and feel of that, it would make me feel so much better about it. But watching Shia LaBeouf sword fight on the car, doing the splits, getting hit in the crotch, just looked terrible.
You missed the worst part of that whole scene, which was Shia LaBeouf Tarzaning at 60 miles an hour to catch up to the other vehicles, man. That's the worst
I know.
part of all.
They take off like a big head start, and he's just like, woo, swinging with the monkeys. and then comes out like in front of them.
Oh,
like, it was kind of like an Indiana Jones move. You think he's out, but he smarts his way back in. But it was just such a ridiculous thing to do. Had they shown them at least driving in like a big hairpin turn and coming back around where he wasn't going that far, maybe I could. But they kind of took off in a straight line and he caught up to them. It's stupid.
I think this movie suffers from being too much of everything. You know what I mean? Like,
definitely.
Too much CGI. There's too many ridiculous action. There's too many lucky situations. Because like Indiana Jones has always been a very lucky character who just happens to land exactly where he's supposed to land so he doesn't die. And it's fine when he does it like once a movie. Like as much as I hate the stupid jumping out of a plane with a boat, he only does it one time at the beginning, and then like the rest of the movie, he's doing pretty normal things. This movie, like every 12 minutes, he's doing something that you're just supposed to like completely set your brain aside and be like, oh yeah, no, of course a human would survive that. How couldn't they?
Yeah.
And it's too much. If it was just the nuking the fridge, it'd be a lot. But I'd be like, all right, Indiana Jones done stupider things. Well, not stupider, but on par stupid things. But then you get the 3 waterfalls, and all 5 of them get in the boat like, whoo, that was scary. Like nobody's even hurt.
Oxley's holding a skull and out of his freaking mind, and he doesn't drown? Like, how's that work?
The skull protected him, I'm sure. I'm sure the skull
protected him.
I would have even been okay if they'd given us some kind of a Indiana Jones still has some Last Crusade godly powers helping him kind of a thing. Like, you know, he drank from the cup and it's doing something to help him out. But all 5 of them drop off 3 waterfalls, no issues whatsoever. And it's just like, okay.
Yeah, I think that's one of the major problems, and you're right. It's Indiana Jones is a guy, you know, in the first 3 movies, he's a dude. He's strong, and capable and super intelligent. And we get that and we love that. And he's charming, but gruff. In this, he gets the superhero treatment where he's untouchable. You know, he goes fisticuffs with a soldier twice his size, half his age, and just back and forth, and he just walks away like nothing happens. There's so many times in this movie where they try to make jokes about his age, but then he's just like this invincible guy. It just doesn't add up. And they never did that in the past. Yes, they did some like crazy out of a plane into a life raft. At least there's some logic and science behind it. You know, this big air raft slowing the descent, going into snow. Maybe, if you're lucky, one of the 3 of them survives that with only 2 broken legs and a broken back. But this, there's no science behind a fridge being blown 600 miles and somebody surviving it, right? It's just out of the realm of possibility, reality, anything. And I feel like this superhero trend was probably coming in hot at this time, and so they made him this superhero, and it just takes away from the movie.
This is 2008. This is around the time of Batman, Dark Knight, and Iron Man.
Yeah, same year.
Is like, yeah. So
Dark
this
Knight.
is like, I don't want to say before superheroes, because technically like 1989 with Batman, but before like the MCU, right? So it's not like the middle of the.
Why
did they do it?
Here's what they should have done. Maybe this got cut out, but this would have solved the problem. He sees the door on the fridge. It says lead lined. He reaches into his breast pocket, pulls out a vial that's labeled Grail water, pops the cork, takes a drink, and climbs in. No problems then. Now I'm like, yeah, he's going to survive that. He's got some Grail water running through his veins. He's good.
Now, I have a question for you on that theory, and I know you're being silly, but bear with me for a second. I'm going to take you as if you're being serious. If you take water that was in that basin and you put it through the Holy Grail and then you put it into a different cup, wouldn't you have chosen poorly and you'd die?
Well, no, I think the other cups aren't they lined with poison? Like, did the knight go in there and just like?
Oh, I assumed it was like God's will that you die if you choose the wrong one.
The water's poison if you drink it out of any other vessel than the right vessel.
That's a heck of a poison that turns you to like ash in seconds.
I don't know. Well, who knows? That whole place was pretty mystical.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's too many logical leaps in this one. There's too many characters to get attached to anything. There's too much CGI to believe anything you're seeing. It's just an assault on the senses from beginning to end. Mm-hmm. And yet, I just don't hate it as much as I'm supposed to. I don't love it. It's not a good film, but it's more fun. Like, this is my third time watching it.
Right.
I just didn't hate it. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
It's not
good. Here's a question for you, Brian, because you haven't said that you enjoyed it like Dan did.
I don't know if that's quite what I said.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't hate it. If this movie was exactly what it was, exactly how it is, except for it's not Indiana Jones. It's just some dude going on this adventure, finding aliens. Plays out almost exactly the same, but it's not Indiana Jones. Is it enjoyable to watch?
I didn't go see Uncharted, the movie, because it felt like a ripoff of Indiana Jones, kind of like what you're describing. It's not Indy. Right. It's not that character that I love to watch. It's not Harrison Ford. They're going around doing archaeology stuff.
What's the National Treasure with Nick Cage? Did you watch that
Nick Cage, yeah, I watched that one. I wish I could erase that from my brain. Let me give me the neuralizer.
Oh, I liked those ones. I thought they were fun.
I didn't like National Treasure. I prefer the Tom Hanks one where he's the one's based off the books. I forget. Yeah. He goes and finds some stuff there. Those were better. Totally different character and different feel for it. So that's why I kind of like that one. But yeah, if they redid this under a different title, right? I really wouldn't like it because honestly, the best parts were, like you guys said, like when they're going through the place with all the boxes and they actually do find the Ark of the Covenant. They have a little glimpse of it and all that stuff. That felt very Indy. He was trying. I didn't like the magnetism thing with all the different metals that get stuck to this.
Oh, we're going to get to that. Don't you worry.
Some metals work, some don't. It's
at least he was thinking his way through. He was solving problems. And then we get into action sequences where he's jumping from car to car. We had a little bit of humor, how he's like, oh, I thought that was closer than it was supposed to be. Not the greatest joke or whatever, but it worked. So I like watching Indy in this film. Mm-hmm. I also did like watching Mutt Williams.
Yeah.
That was okay too. I liked that his character was on point, even though Shia LaBeouf was just playing Shia LaBeouf again. The character fit well here, and I liked it. So I enjoyed those. I didn't enjoy the other characters, and I didn't enjoy how a lot of this movie got away from the archaeology aspect. Like, they didn't explain why or how he was picked to go to Area 51. Like, they said he was told to go help them exhume the alien body, and they never explained any more of it.
He's Indiana Jones. I think his reputation.
But I mean,
didn't he have a history with that specific sarcophagus? Wasn't that the reason they brought it?
Yes, he helped find it, and we know nothing about that. And it
Well,
felt
no,
like
but-
they weren't going to give us the option to tell us anymore. There was no foreshadowing. There was no circling back around to it. There was nothing. It was just, he had a connection to that.
That didn't
That's
bother
kind of
me
it.
because it's just like, yeah, he's had adventures. Like, you haven't seen him in 20 years. He didn't just sit at a desk that whole time. That's not who he is.
I wanted to see that adventure. I wanted to see how he was connected to this sarcophagus instead of just one line saying, yeah, I was part of the original crew that dug it up. And then there's nothing to that. There's nothing to that. And I wanted him to have like a flashback of when they were digging it up and see some symbols on it or something. And then later that plays an important part later on where he is the one guy who knows about it and can do something about it. Instead, he's just kind of running from the Russians, trying to get to the Crystal Skull first. And it was entertaining, but over the top.
Your little line, well, your little rant there actually brings me to a thought that I didn't have. In the beginning, they find this alien body or whatever. The Russians want it for their mind melding or whatever they're doing, which she claims to have, but then never uses again, which is whatever. Is that one of these aliens' bodies? I'm confused. Is it just a random alien that also has mind powers? Because it's not clear, because all of their skeletons are in the temple except for the one skull that they need to bring there. So what's this first alien body for at all?
That's a wonderful question. This is a Roscoe alien crash. This is from like the 40s or 50s.
Yeah.
So it is a different alien. Is it the same species? Is it related? Any of that? I have no idea.
Yeah,
this one's far more magnetic.
The head they bring to the body that magnetizes up to it, and then the ship takes off, right?
Yeah.
So they're interchangeable like Legos? Is that how it works?
Well,
I don't
know.
know.
That's a different skull.
Belong to that alien. This first alien's a completely different alien.
And okay, so they don't do anything with it then.
Yeah, I don't know.
She wants to get it for its mind powers because she's into this psychoscience or whatever. And you're right. She tries to read Harrison Ford's mind in the beginning, fails, and then never does anything with it again at all. So there's just lots of stuff to this plot that goes nowhere and has no purpose, and all these things that they just shove into this movie. And it's
10
just
scripts, man. Probably 10
yeah,
scripts
it's just not that great. It's just
bits and pieces left.
I wish they would have found a better, more simplistic script and just fleshed it out real well and done more practical effects and less CG. And I think we would have had a much better movie. And maybe if Shia LaBeouf would have kept his mouth shut, he could be the next Indiana Jones. I don't know. He wasn't terrible in this film. I don't like the guy. I don't like anything he's in other than maybe Transformers 1, only because that was like the first time I saw him. And then I realized, oh, that's every character he plays. And then I just didn't. Yeah. So I'm done. That's all I got to say about this. I'm kind of frustrated with the movie.
I think you need to watch more Shia LaBeouf movies because he is a very different character in every movie.
Really?
Like, in the ones I've seen, at least, like he's playing a pretty different character from Transformers than to this one. But especially if you watch like Peanut Butter Falcon, or what is the one where he's playing his own dad? There's one where he's playing essentially the role of his father, and like he hires somebody else to play like him when he was a kid because he was a child actor. It was really interesting seeing him from a totally different perspective. Anyways, I don't like the guy as a person.
So I don't know. So maybe that's why. I pretty much seen Transformers in this.
It's one of those things where it's like there are some actors out there who really do play the exact same character every time. Yeah. But when people do play different roles, I do like to try and like, no, they do get lost in themselves a little bit.
Really liked to see in this role instead of Shia LaBeouf, and I think would have been a great job. I don't know the actor's name. He plays Goose's son in the newest Top Gun movie Maverick. He plays Goose Jr. Yeah. I don't know. Mm-hmm. That guy, yeah. I think Miles he would have made a great Mud Williams.
That's Miles Teller, right? He's the same guy from Whiplash?
Yeah, that's it. Miles Teller from Whiplash. Exactly. Yeah. I think he's a phenomenal actor, and I think it would have been a great fit for him here.
He actually kind of looks more like him, too.
I think so as well, yeah.
Yeah.
I have no qualms with Shia LaBeouf's acting. I don't watch Shia LaBeouf because of outside of him being a crazy man. But that said, Mutt Williams was probably the next best character in this, aside from Indy. The issue I have with it is, one, he didn't have a lot of character. He was kind of like this weird rebel without a cause, literally having very little cause in this movie. And unlike Last Crusade, where they were so amazing at building the relationship between father and son, this movie just fumbled that so hard. Like, one, I didn't know Mutt Williams was his son before watching this movie, because I didn't really watch anything about this movie until I had to watch this movie, because I was forced to watch this movie for this show. So I didn't know going in that Mutt Williams was his son. But like, as soon as you meet him, I'm like, oh, this is his son. Oh, okay. Mary. Oh, that's okay. That's Marion. Okay. Like it was so paint by the numbers, like hold your hand throughout. But instead of like building the relationship, they just were like making cheap jabs and stupid jokes. Like I couldn't get behind it. I didn't feel the heart and soul that I felt with Harrison Ford and Sean Connery. It was so drastically different from that in all the wrong ways for me.
Yeah,
I will defend Shia LaBeouf, but I will not say he's Sean Connery. Like, they are on very different levels.
Right. That's fine, but it's not an actor issue. Sure,
it's a shallow plot. It's a shallow writing of these characters.
Yeah,
there's way too many characters. There's not enough time to focus on those characters, and because they're trying to keep the mother being Marion issue hidden, because I heard when they were making the movie they didn't want to reveal that Karen Allen was in the movie. They then had to hide that they were father and son. And so they don't have time to like build the father-son relationship in this movie. Whereas in Last Crusade, you know right off the get what you're getting. And they can spend the time being like, oh, look at all these beautiful ways that we weave these characters together, how they're so alike, how they're different, how they want to be respected by each other, and all of these. And then they can add on top of that the layers of humor and things like that. This one, all they did was cheap humor tricks instead of any of that other heart. And it really just left me wanting.
Yeah. I the one minor pushback that I'll have is when they're on the motorcycle together and they go through the school and whatnot. And then there's one scene where they like, I think he takes out the flagpole and then like the banner falls down and knocks out covers their windshield and they drive into
the other car
or something. And like, there's 1 second there where like Harrison Ford is just looking disgusted and like Mutt is sitting there like looking proud of himself. He's like, yeah. And like something about that reminded me of Last Crusade because Sean Connery is so like pacifistic. And Indiana Jones is like not antagonistic, but certainly not backing out of a fight. So like there was just that like moment of like, oh, they flipped the switch. Like now Indiana Jones is the old man who doesn't want to cause a ruckus. Like there was that one like half second where I was like, all right, that's a good like look on both their faces.
I totally agree to that. The one thing that a lot of people seem to enjoy that I actually hated was when Indy's like talking to Mutt, being like, hey, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I dropped out of school. I'm going to be a mechanic my life. You know, that's what I want to do. He's like, oh, whatever makes you happy. Don't let anybody tell you different. And then when he finds out he's his dad, immediately he's like, you're going to make him finish school. I absolutely despise that. Because for me, Indiana Jones is always a straight shooter. And I believed Indiana Jones would say, follow your heart, do what you love. I don't believe he would say, get back to school, even though he is this academic. I just didn't buy it.
And maybe his dad would have said it, and that's what they were trying to do. They're trying to change Indy into Harrison Ford into Sean Connery so that later they could have Shia LaBeouf be Indiana Jones. I think that's what they were trying to do with this movie. And they, of course, like everything else that they tried to do with this movie, I think they failed.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, I agree.
I agree with the first thing you said, where I think Indiana Jones is too much of a straight shooter. So I would have been okay if he had said, you know, follow your dreams and stuck with it. Or I would have been okay if he'd said, no, you should listen to your mother and go back to school.
I agree.
And stuck with it.
But
agree. The flip-flop felt weird.
Agreed. Yes, 100%.
I mean, we had some fun attempts at sequences that were good. I did like the rocket train sequence, even though it didn't make any sense when he throws the guy on the keyboard and it starts the launch sequence.
Yeah.
I was like, come on. Okay, whatever. They could have wrote something better than that. There's lots of moments like where they just use a cheap trick to progress to get into that situation so that they can show off their special effects, do a thing in front of a green screen, make some super over the top exciting moment. And I'm like, why are you pushing for it to be so over the top when you could just make it a really good moment instead? And it doesn't even have to be over the top, because I would have enjoyed it better if you would have taken the time to do it right. So lots of neat sequences, way too over the top and not enough effort making them realistic or enjoyable, relatable, anything for me to grab onto.
That's just how this movie is, unfortunately. It's just everything is turned to 11.
Yep.
And I think it's hard for us because we all have stated how much we love practical effects. We love real stunt work. And you know when Indy is on the tank in the third movie that he's on there and they're fighting and that tank is rolling, and there's dirt falling down on him. Like, it's real. You know it. You feel it. You see it. It's gritty. It's there. And that is all gone. It's all gone, aside from a little bit in the warehouse where he's running around. You can see that some of that is real. And when you said, they hit that button, which is whatever. Yeah, very convenient. They set off this rocket thing, but him swinging down on his whip and kicking that guy through the window was one of the cooler stunts in the movie because it was real. You can tell it was real. It was a nice, slow, big wind-up swing, and that guy went flying through that window. It was awesome.
You know what? Props to Harrison Ford, because he wanted to do more of his own stunts than the insurance companies would let him. He had massive training to get himself back to Indy shape. Because it'd been so long since he'd done this, and he's an old guy in this film. They make the joke that he should be in a museum, that sort of thing. But I thought that was fantastic that Harrison Ford was willing to put in the work like that. Another reason I enjoy Indiana Jones movies, because Harrison Ford is a phenomenal actor and puts in the effort.
Absolutely. You asked you asked Brian, you didn't ask me, probably because you knew my answer. This movie has been anywhere near as much fun to watch if it wasn't near Harrison Ford or Indiana Jones. Absolutely not. Like, I think I give this movie more of a pass than I should because of the nostalgia associated with Harrison Ford and with Indiana Jones. You also mentioned about how much we all prefer practical effects, which I do for the most part, but I don't mind CGI when it's giving me something I can't otherwise see. For instance, in, let's say, Jurassic Park, when you first see the brontosauruses or the brachiosauruses or whatever, and they are 100 feet tall. Yeah. That would be very hard to do in practical effects. You do the CGI, it's fine. The problem with this movie is it legitimately feels like they're CGIing the sunset or walking through a forest or like so many of these really, really basic things. Like, there's a scene at the very beginning where it's literally just them driving through a desert, and they get to the front gate, and the guy's like, "Hey guys, sorry, it was all closed because we're doing nuclear testing." Everything about that feels like it's on a sound set.
It almost looks like a cartoon.
20 minutes. Yeah, and you can film this for real life. Like, that's what drives me insane, is when it's just laziness. If you want to give me aliens in CG, sure, I'll accept it. Hopefully they look good, but I'll accept it. But when it's just lazy filmmaking, it bothers me so much more.
Yep, 100% agree.
If you like what we do and you want to help support us, consider joining our Patreon. There's a link down below. Thank you to our producers, as well as our executive producer, Dino. And huge shout out to our head writers, Elder JM990 and Real Bubba Hotep. Next week, we're going to be taking a look at Namora, the Netflix exclusive. So come join us in the watch party or next Thursday to listen to us talk about that movie.
Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull gets a 69 from me. I have said everything I want to say about this film. I kind of want to move on from it. I did enjoy the film. It's an indie film and I enjoy it, but it is the weakest link in the franchise, I believe. I had a lot of fun with 2, even though 2 made a lot of mistakes. And I think 2 allowed them to correct those mistakes to make the best film in the franchise that I think, which was number 3, The Last Crusade. I thought that was just the best, not by a small margin, or by a small margin, though. So this one, they just tried to do too much. And it failed, and so it gets a 69 from me.
So we've done the last couple of Indiana Jones over the last couple of weeks, and if you've been watching, you know that I really didn't care for Temple of Doom. I'm going to go out there. This might be a hot take, or probably is. I actually think that while this is a worse movie than Temple of Doom, it's more fun and it's a better Indiana Jones movie than Temple of Doom is. I think this one is rough in a lot of ways. But for the third time watching it, I didn't hate it as much as I remembered people telling me I'm supposed to hate this. I think Shia LaBeouf does a better job than I would have remembered. I think Harrison Ford is still just as fun. I think the script is wildly all over the place, and that's really unfortunate. But there's still a lot of Harrison Ford doing Indiana Jones things. He's still thinking his way through situations as opposed to Temple of Doom, where he's just kind of fumbling his way through situations. And I really did enjoy that aspect of it. The fact that it's aliens doesn't bother me that much because I think there's a really good chance there is alien life out there. I don't think that it's made it to Earth, but I think it exists somewhere, and so that's fine. The inconsistencies drive me crazy. And in fact, my score actually went down while we were talking because I wasn't really, while I was watching the movie, I wasn't even thinking about the fact that the alien at the beginning really doesn't connect to anything else going forward. And that really hindered me quite a bit because that's a good chunk of the film to dedicate to nothing. So that hurt a little bit, dropped the score a little bit. But regardless, I'm giving this a 62, and I'm shocked I am not higher than Brian on this one. The way you talked about this one, I really thought you'd be in the 40s, to be honest.
No, I mean, it's not made the way I want this movie to be made, but that doesn't mean that it's bad. A lot of people like CGI. They like this over-the-top crap, and it was a choice. It's just not the choice that fits with me. So I'm not dinging it for its production value as much as maybe you guys are, but I still just, it's the weak link in the franchise for me. And I enjoyed number 2 a lot more than you did, Dan.
Sure.
Even though Indy didn't act like Indy in that one, I still had a fun time on that ride.
Okay. Dan's going to be surprised again here. What am I going to say? Okay. Too many cooks in the script writing kitchen. Too many characters on the screen. Too many Instagram filters, really. Just made this a muddled mess for me. Here's the beauty though. Harrison Ford being Indiana Jones 20 years later and seeing where Indiana Jones is and how he acts and how he's a little bit more like his father and how he is slowing down, but it will never give up. All of those things, all of the Indiana Jones, Harrison Fordisms in this movie is the only reason to watch this movie. I think a lot of people, even in chat, people are saying, oh, I watched it again and I didn't hate it as much as I did when I saw it when it was released. I think there was a big surge in online reviews. YouTube was kind of really taking off in 2008, and there was a lot of people with very easy access to just rant. And this movie was huge. A lot of people saw it. And so people could get their hands on all of these people ranting about how this movie wasn't like the other movies. And it's not. It doesn't hold a candle to any of those other movies in my mind. But it doesn't mean that it's not a well-made movie. It doesn't mean that Spielberg lost all his ability to direct a nicely paced action sequence on the big screen. This is like a popcorn movie. Do I love those? No. Did it have the heart that the others had? No. But was it like a horrible movie? Unfortunately not. It wasn't horrible. It just isn't my Indiana Jones. So for me, 64 out of 100. This movie is unfortunately canon.
And with that, we see Indiana Jones drop from the top spot into second place. It's kind of gone back and forth with Kill Bill here. However, with only one movie left in the Indiana Jones film, I haven't seen it yet, but I don't know. Do you think there's any chance Indiana Jones can reclaim the top spot? Or do you think it's going to sit at 2 or drop even further?
I don't think it's going to climb back up. I just feel like because the first 3 were so good and the third one ended so well, there's just no coming back from that. I'm hopeful that the next movie's better, although Steven Spielberg did not direct it. It's a different director. That actually intrigues me because what Steven Spielberg gave us this time wasn't that hot. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Brian, you've already seen it, so I'm not going to ask you.
It's
I think you're right. It's not going to climb up. I hope it doesn't drastically fall, though. I would love to see it still in the top like 5-ish. If the next movie would have to be very bad for it to drop too far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't remember anything about the fifth movie other than I really did not like the ending of the fifth movie. And it wasn't that it was a bad ending. It was just not the way I wanted it to end. And it really bothered me. And so that's the only taste I have for the fifth one. I got to watch it again for it to be fresh in my mind. Definitely, we're not going to retake number one. I really don't think so. I think,
I don't think so.
I have always felt like the Indiana Jones is 3 movies and 2 movies. That's just how I've always felt about it. And I think that's what we're going to see.
That's very fair. It's going to be hard for realistically anything to beat Kill Bill. Like 86 is a pretty decent score for a franchise. There's not a lot. Now, we haven't touched on some franchises, but I feel like most of them go on longer than they're supposed to. So,
well, if Kill Bill ever gets a volume 3, it could bring it down. But
that's fair.
a two-piece franchise, man, that's the golden ticket to the top of our list, right? Because you don't get a franchise if you suck.
Tell that to Greenland.
But here's the other thing Kill Bill's got going for it. Kill Bill's got going for it. It was originally 1 movie, right?
Yeah.
And they cut
Kill
it
Bill's a
into
bit of
2.
a cheat.
It's a cheat. It's a cheat for sure, but it makes the list because it was 2 movies.
And you know what? It's quality cinema, and I want people to see it at the top of the list. If they haven't seen Kill Bill, they should definitely check that out. That's what I want. I always want to be pushing people towards good films and pushing them away from cheap, lazy, crappy films.
Yeah. All right, so that's our rating of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. But what's yours? Leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. We record this live every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over at twitch.tv/TheMonguli Show. So you can over there and hit the follow button if you want to hang out with us live. Or if you made it this far in the video, you probably enjoyed it. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons so that we see you in the next one.